In this video, I would like to talk a little bit about boredom. The question that we can start with is, what is boredom? When I say I'm feeling bored, when you say you are feeling bored or you're bored, what do we mean by these expressions? We can begin with the general assumption that our emotions, our moods, our feelings, in general and potentially, they contain useful information for us. That any emotion like fear, anger, sadness, these emotions, what they are trying to do is orient our attention, signal the presence of something that we need to pay attention to, that it is useful for us to pay attention to those things, that is being signaled by an emotion, by a mood. So we can adopt that kind of attitude with respect to the mood that is boredom. And there are two kinds of things we can do with boredom in general. We can, on the one hand, escape from boredom. We can try to cover it up, ignore it, and run away from it. And on the other hand, we can try to find an appropriate response to boredom. So escaping from boredom is, I think, it would be rather obvious. If I'm feeling bored and I go on social media or on YouTube, I start binge watching videos. And after 2, 3, 4 hours, I return to myself, I return to my solitary silence. And what I find is not the absence of boredom, but I find the same boredom maybe even more intense in a way that is more troublesome, that it bothers me even more. And it is now added with that feeling of being exhausted, wasting time on social media with any distraction that you can think about. So escaping from boredom doesn't get rid of it. It doesn't free us from boredom, and it is not a response to it. It is an attempt to cover it up, to ignore it, and to postpone responding to it. So escape on the one hand, on the other hand, appropriate response. But to find an appropriate response to boredom, we first need to understand it. I think we need to first sit with it. And sitting with boredom, paying attention to it, observing it carefully, patiently, requires to maybe even prolong it, to not refuse to experience it. So the first step may be to accept it as what it is, sit with it, begin the observation of boredom. As you know, with an attitude of curiosity, the attitude that we adopt with respect to anything else that we want to understand. Like when you want to understand why your friend is bored or why your friend is sad. That kind of attitude, that kind of curiosity, that kind of openness and understanding. So with that attitude, we could consider two different ways that boredom might inform us, or two different kinds of signals that boredom might be sending us. I'm going to talk about briefly two types of boredom, potentially. This was something that we came up with in a discussion that I had with a group of students. And we agreed together that there are at least two kinds of boredom. One of them asks, what should I do? So imagine a person who goes to school during the day or goes to work and has a fulfilling and engaging day. Otherwise, very engaging day, very fulfilling, interesting. But for a period of maybe 2 hours, 3 hours every evening, this person doesn't know what to do with their time. They have some free time, and the question now is, what should I do with my free time? I'm feeling bored in this period of time. I need to come up with something, experiment with something, pick up some things to do, to try. A second kind of boredom signals something that is more fundamental, more about the core of the person. And that is not a complaint about what should I do, or there's nothing I can do, but it is more about who I am. So this second kind of boredom asks, who am I? Why am I feeling so detached, disengaged? So this person goes to work, but their experience of work, or their experience of study, their experience of being a member of a society is not as engaging. They might feel out of place. They might feel like they don't belong, they don't have a place in where they are. So the question is not about what I should do, but who am I? And this is the kind of question that the second kind of boredom calls for an answer to who am I, as opposed to what I should do. So why is it important to pay attention to these two different kinds of boredom? Because if we only assume that there is one kind, and that is a boredom about activity, and the question is only and always about what I should do, our response will be that we just adopt more responsibility and take tasks and try to bury ourselves under duties and tasks and engagements and responsibilities. And by doing that, we are responding to the call of the first kind of boredom, ignoring the possibility that we might be experiencing a more fundamental feeling of boredom. So we are running away when we pay attention to the second type of boredom as if it is the first kind of boredom. We are escaping from that more existential, more personal, a deeper sense of boredom. And I think it would be more appropriate to sit with it, to observe it, to be in dialogue with it, as opposed to bury it under tasks and responsibilities and engagements, and reducing the chance of engaging with it in a meaningful way. That's it. I think that's good for now. Let me know if you have any thoughts on that. I'm thankful to the students who had this conversation with me. Let me know what you think. Otherwise, thank you for your attention.